Raise your hand if you also think the last truly enjoyable thing that came out of the MCU or any of these universes was maybe WandaVision or Loki Season 1 or like 4 episodes of Miss Marvel with Iman Vellani. Wait, Shang-Chi was quite fun too. Which phase are they in right now? Does it matter? Is this why film critics are retiring? Don't look at me for answers. I don't have any. One correlation I have found between this recently introduced Israeli character in this film and one small Indian indie film, which honestly was a far more interesting thing that I discovered than anything in this movie. We'll get to that in a few minutes. End me. First, hey all, my name is Sucharita. Welcome back to my channel. Jahan aaj let's talk about Captain America: Brave New World, directed by Julius Ona, starring Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford in the lead roles, now in movie theaters.
You want me? Come and get me!
Picking up after, honestly, I couldn't exactly tell you where. Maybe it is Ed Norton Wali Hulk, maybe it is Eternals. A Brave New World has a younger Captain America and Falcon at the center. Looking for mentorship and guidance, they go back to a super soldier, Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumbly, who was imprisoned and experimented upon by the government of America for 30 years. But more than anything, these two need to bring Isaiah back over to the side of the current ruling regime and convince him that President Ross, despite his history of spearheading the super soldier program and his overzealous use of the military to subdue Isaiah, is now a changed man who just wants to do right by the nation and reconcile with his daughter. Isaiah reluctantly agrees, but once everyone is at the White House, an attack on the president changes all plans, and it is anarchy once again. The first and biggest issue with this film about politics is its politics. Confused at best, dangerous at worst. Captain America, a black man, is shown to be increasingly sympathetic towards a monstrous president whose policies and actions have actively caused disharmony and destruction. In one scene, he, Falcon, and Isaiah are thrilled to be sent a limousine to attend a dinner at the White House. I paraphrase, but I believe the dialogue in that moment emphasizes, "Who cares what that man did? We are going to the White House!" Putting a flimsy bandage over a deep, still bleeding wound. It is an active invitation to ignore allegiance in favor of the cult of personality. Never mind the incoherence of the story. Suddenly, कैसे Washington DC को Eternals का cliffhanger याद आ गया, या वो statistics का professor जो सालों से कैद था अब क्यों जाकर असली रंग दिखा रहा है, etc. etc. Never mind that. A Brave New World, despite its title, is neither brave nor is it new. In an America ruled by chaos, gunfights break out in the streets. People vanish and reappear, bizarre even by the arbitrary rules of sci-fi. It's all but a mere shadow of when this genre used to be engaging. Giancarlo Esposito plays Sidewinder, a megalomaniac undone by his delusions of grandeur, set up to fail so spectacularly from the first frame he appears in that there's just no intrigue. There's no excitement, nothing new. Somehow, major decisions about the celestial island in the Indian Ocean are being taken by America, Japan, India, and France. An Indian Prime Minister stand-in, full wear a Nehru jacket and all that, makes an appearance, yelling at the US president to get his house in order, and then instantly he vanishes from the narrative. Maybe there's an attempt to comment on how cherry blossoms were a gift from Japan. So now America must not beef with the Japanese government and should think about the peace between the countries. But any attempt to explore this in international relationships is overshadowed by terrible CGI green screen. Terrible.
Nothing about this feels right.
Captain America. You ever ask yourself, who's playing who?
Brave New World also feeds into America's current rhetoric of fear, that survival instinct that kicks in when someone in power convinces you that you are in danger. Watching this film almost convinced me that one must stand by their government under all circumstances, that civilians, normal people, need protection from an invisible enemy that's all around us. Paranoia. Who this enemy is keeps changing based on trends. But the fear of a dark force always looms large if pop culture and mass media tells you it does, convincing you that a savior is needed, even when you don't know why. It's a ploy used by politicians since forever. But it is disconcerting to sit in a theatre and witness something that almost feels like it's a part of that plan in action. I believe a variation of the phrase, "that was his past, he's a different man now," is repeated about 5 times, imploring you, the viewer, to just trust. There's a hint of, look, he's volatile, like maybe the current president, huh? But the overall implication is that the big man in the big house with the secret planning rooms and the latest tech is doing the right things despite his methods. Because we're always at war. Beware! Even if you just shut off your critical thinking and choose to watch this film as 2 hours of brain rot, you will still be disappointed. The pageantry one expects from a film like this is reduced to one scene where Red Hulk and Captain America fight with each other. The rest of it is bereft of soul or spectacle. Harrison Ford banging a marble table in anger, causing it to crack, shouldn't be enough as acceptable entertainment from a franchise that has demanded so much of your attention and time over the last 20-ish years. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Captain America Brave New World is one Israeli agent, a Black Widow. Ruth Bat Saraf shows up here. The film just throws in this character without anything even remotely resembling an arc, so there's not much to get into. But her name in the comic books is Sabra. In my limited understanding, that term came to refer to the first Jewish people born in Palestine and later Jewish persons born in Israel once that nation was established. Originally, the word Sabra shares etymology with the word sabr, which we know means patience, and it is the name given to the patient prickly pear cactus that grows abundantly in Palestine. This prickly pear cactus as a symbol has a turbulent past and deep significance across many cultures all over the world. It is even the state plant of Texas in America. The Sundance Film Festival winning Marathi film Sabr Bonda, also called cactus pears, takes its name from the same plant. This bit of information has little to do with either of these films actively, इसलिए मैं end में आपको बता रही हूँ. But once I got into reading about it, I think I spent just 2 hours just going into the Sabr's significance. आज के लिए इतना ही. We've already spoken about Netflix की फिल्म धूमधाम, उसका रिव्यू देख लीजिएगा. Up next, विकी कौशल स्टार छावा, उसके रिव्यू के लिए वेट कीजिए. But do subscribe to the channel, right? We're working hard over here. My name is Sucharita. Thank you for stopping by.